This morning, I want to think together with you about what it would actually be like to stand in somebody else's shoes. Just like President Obama said in our reading. And more than just standing, I'd like us to think about what it would actually be like to walk, not just to stand, but to walk in somebody else's shoes. We often hear this phrase, to walk in somebody else's shoes, to have the experience of feeling what it's like to walk in somebody else's shoes. But do we really understand what it would be like for real? How it would feel to walk in somebody else's shoes? That's why my socks are on. Yes, I wore socks today. Correct. But now that you've all noticed we have some props today, I'd like just to mention that I want to make this question about walking in somebody else's shoes, I want to make it real for you. And I have a project that requires absolute silence. We need to do this project very quietly. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you 4 pairs of shoes. And as I do that, with your eyes only, not your voices, it has to be quiet, just with your eyes, I want you to stay quiet and look at these shoes. Adults, you too. Only one of these pairs of shoes is mine, only one, and I loaned the other 3 pairs from friends, from a teacher, from a parent, and from a student. So, very quiet. Being quiet is not an attribute of the PBS student, is it? So now, when I hold up each pair again, I want you to raise your hand, a quiet hand, to say, I think that that is Dr. Erickson's pair of shoes. So I'm going to hold them up in the same order, and then I want you to raise your hand if you think they're my shoes. Are these my shoes? One person thinks they're my shoes. So let's have a big shout out for Kate Halsey. Round of applause. These are Kate. Michael Barbarino, of course. And the very fabulous Nicole Taylor. These are my shoes. Do you know what this is? A shoe, right. It's a shoehorn. And I bought these fantastic shoes in Istanbul a few years ago, and I love them. They're very comfortable. But here's the deal, folks. I want to tell you this. There is absolutely no way that I could ever walk in these other shoes. It would be very difficult to walk in them. It would be very difficult to get my feet in them. It would not allow me to move quickly. It would cause me pain to walk in those other shoes. I would stumble, and I would probably not even be able to use a shoehorn to get those shoes onto my feet. My friends, today's topic, empathy. Empathy means this. We need to try the difficult task, the difficult job of walking in somebody else's shoes. That is the quality of character to change the world that President Obama talked about. Now, everybody turn to the front. I have a story to tell you. I have a story. Dr. Sue was a medical doctor. She was raised in Korea. She immigrated to Stockholm, Sweden to live with her Swedish husband. That's where I met her. She's the mother of 2, and she established a very successful medical practice. She was actually a lifesaver to Korean-speaking immigrants living in Stockholm. She decided that she was going to learn Spanish so that she could have a ministry working with Spanish-speaking immigrants as well. They felt better hearing medical advice in Spanish, their first language. I think that Dr. Sue worked very hard to feel what it was like to walk in somebody else's shoes. She once attended a Doctors Without Borders conference. She met a dentist from Oradea in the western part of Romania. Dr. Sue listened, and she learned that this dentist needed supplies and equipment. These were hard to find in Oradea, but Dr. Sue could easily find these supplies and equipments in Stockholm. She kept walking in somebody else's shoes. Dr. Sue called around. She collected the needed equipment and supplies for her new dentist friend. She convinced me and someone else to load up a large Volvo with everything she collected in Stockholm. She kept walking in somebody else's shoes. Dr. Sue talked me into driving and delivering these supplies to her new friend in Oradea, Romania. That's like driving from here to Cincinnati, Ohio, 2,300 miles one way. So when we drove and arrived in Oradea with our supplies and equipment for her dentist friend, here is what I learned about Dr. Sue. She worked really hard to understand what was needed. She showed how much she cares, and then she did something. My friends, that is empathy. Work hard to understand, show that you care, and then do something. Dr. Sue taught me the real meaning of walking in somebody else's shoes. Not for real, like the shoes I just showed you earlier, but instead to try to imagine yourself. Imagine yourself in the circumstances, in the situation of somebody else, so that you can understand, so you can show how much you care, and that you can do something to make a difference. I think that empathy means the ability to join up in the feelings of others. It means working to create an affinity with someone else, a bond, an unbreakable bond with someone. A mentor once told me this. He said, empathy is like getting under somebody's skin, which actually means you're being kind of irritating and bothersome. Because when we usually say you're getting under somebody's skin, it means that you're not being very helpful. But he said this, and he helped me to understand empathy. He said that when you get under somebody's skin, you actually become obsessed with what that person is thinking and feeling. You get really interested in what you can do to understand the feelings of that other person, to make sure that you understand and care and do something. So after that really long trip with Dr. Sue, I called my parents and told them after the fact that I had done it. I told them the details. I took a 10-day pause. I took 10 days off from school. I drove across a large portion of Europe in a Volvo station wagon. I did it with people I did not know very well. I stayed in the home of a complete stranger in Oradea. I drove that Volvo on the German Autobahn for the first time, with cars speeding by. This was not exactly what they expected to hear from a 24-year-old Iowa farm boy who was just trying to focus on school. But here's what my parents said in response. My parents, Scott, you clearly wanted to do something to help the people with the problems that they were having, to help somebody else with the problems they were having. My friends, students, there are always problems. Maybe recess isn't going well. or your class is having a hard time sharing, or you notice that a friend is struggling with a writing project, or maybe you see a classmate who is sad and not doing very well. So I think a good way to do something about those problems is to be very good at empathy. To be very, very good at empathy. To understand, to care, and to do something. No one's asking you to solve every problem. No one is asking you to even see every problem. But instead, at PBS, we want to solve problems, and we want to be very good at empathy. Understand, care, and do something. Understand, care, and do something. So why don't we make Dr. Sue, the wonderful Korean Swedish medical doctor, our model? Empathy is the quality of character to change the world here at PBS. Thank you for listening.